It began with a simple, terrifying question. Could the largest predatory dinosaur ever discovered be given the power of flight? In a top-secret laboratory buried on a remote Pacific island, this wasn't merely a theoretical exercise. It was Project Chimra. The goal was not resurrection. It was mastery. Geneticists had mapped the genomes of titans. Spinosaurus aegyptiacus, the colossal river king, a predator more at home in the water than on land. And Quetzalcoatlus northropi, the sky titan, a pterosaur with the wingspan of a fighter jet. Each was a pinnacle of evolution in its own domain, yet each had its limits. Spinosaurus was bound to its river systems. Quetzalcoatlus was awkward and vulnerable on the ground. Project Chimra's mandate was to erase those limits. To create a single organism that knew no boundaries. They called their creation the Spinoquetzalus. The anatomical challenges were staggering. First, the issue of weight. A mature Spinosaurus weighed over 9 tons. Flight should have been impossible. The solution was a marvel of bioengineering. Scientists developed a process to infuse the dinosaur's bone structure with a porous, carbon silicate lattice. The bones retained their immense strength but lost nearly 70% of their mass. They were hollowed, reinforced, and perfected. Next, the wings. Splicing the genetic code for Quetzalcoatlus's wings onto the Spinosaurus torso required a complete restructuring of the creature's musculature. Massive pectoral muscles, anchors for the 18-meter wingspan, were grown and grafted to a newly reinforced sternum. The leathery, patagium membranes were laced with synthetic polymers, making them resistant to tearing during high-velocity dives. When folded, they hugged the creature's body, allowing it to move unhindered through water and dense foliage. The iconic sail of the Spinosaurus was also repurposed. It was no longer just a display structure. Interwoven with powerful muscles and sensitive nerves, it became a dynamic stabilizer. An organic rudder, allowing the Spinoquetzalus to make impossibly sharp turns in mid-air, a feat of aerodynamics that defied conventional physics. The head remained a perfect fusion of horrors. The long, crocodile-like snout of the Spinosaurus was retained, filled with its signature conical teeth, perfect for gripping slippery prey. But the skull was lightened, more aerodynamic, and its vision was enhanced with the keen, long-distance sight of its pterosaur ancestor. It was a creature that could spot a ripple in the water from 1,000 meters in the air. For 3 years, the creature, designated Subject Alpha, grew within the island's central containment sector. It learned to walk. It learned to swim. Then, one day, under the gray Pacific sky, it learned to fly. The initial attempt was a clumsy, thunderous launch, a 9-ton body fighting against gravity. But then, instinct took over. The great wings caught the air, and with a sound like tearing canvas, Subject Alpha ascended. It circled the containment zone once, a living eclipse against the sun. The scientists in the control room watched in a mixture of triumph and primal fear. They had done it. They had created the ultimate predator. The escape, when it came, was almost insultingly simple. A tropical typhoon, a power failure in the perimeter's electrical grid, and a single, overlooked structural weak point in the containment wall. In the chaos of the storm, Subject Alpha tasted freedom. It simply walked through the breach, climbed to the island's highest peak, and launched itself into the storm-racked sky. Project Chimra was over. The nightmare had just begun. The first reports were dismissed as hoaxes. A fishing trawler found adrift off the coast of Mexico, its crew missing. The vessel's steel hull was shredded, punctured by something of immense size and force. Then came the footage from a tourist's drone in the Amazon basin. A monstrous shape, diving from the clouds not into the river, but onto a 6-meter black caiman, snatching it from the bank and carrying it away as if it were a lizard. The world was forced to confront the impossible truth. The Spinoquetzalus was an ecological catastrophe. It had no equal. It could hunt in 3 separate biomes. From the air, it patrolled coastlines, its shadow falling upon pods of dolphins and even young whales. Its hunting method was terrifyingly efficient. A high-altitude dive, reaching speeds of over 200 kilometers per hour. It would strike the water like a living missile, its reinforced skull and powerful claws hitting with devastating impact. Great white sharks, apex predators for millions of years, were now prey. In freshwater systems, it reverted to the tactics of its Spinosaurus ancestors. It would wade through rivers and lakes, its head submerged, sensing the electrical impulses of fish with the pits on its snout. But unlike its ancestor, it was not trapped there. After feeding, it could simply launch itself skyward and fly hundreds of miles to a new hunting ground in a matter of hours. Entire ecosystems, unprepared for such a versatile predator, began to collapse. On land, it was a surprisingly stealthy hunter. Its vast wings could be used to intimidate, but its true weapons were its size and speed. It could stalk prey from the air, landing silently behind a herd of deer or a lone grizzly bear, ending the contest before it began. Military intervention proved futile. The creature was too fast, too smart, and too adaptable. Fighter jets attempting to engage it were met with astounding aerial agility. It could use its rudder sail to execute turns that would rip the wings off a man-made craft. If threatened, it would simply dive into the ocean, its semi-aquatic nature allowing it to stay submerged for up to an hour, vanishing from radar and sonar. It learned that human vessels were a source of food. It learned that populated areas were to be avoided, not from fear, but from a cold, predatory calculation. The Spinoquetzalus was not a monster of rage. It was a creature of pure, unparalleled predatory instinct. It hunted, it ate, it moved on. It was sighted in the Scottish Highlands one week, and the Congo River the next. It had no territory. The entire planet was its domain. The scientists of Project Chimra had wanted to create a perfect organism, to erase the boundaries of nature. They succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. They had engineered a new apex predator for planet Earth. The only problem was, in this new world they had created, humanity was no longer at the top of the food chain.